In the fabled land of Northern California, nestled in the Valley of Sacramento, two friends begin a journey to enlighten the world about their experience living life as a Xennial. But what is a Xennial, you may ask? If you wish to know, then follow them on their adventures.
Welcome to the Xennial Chronicles. This is James.
This is Mike.
And I am eating sweet tarts ropes right now. Golden ropes.
He told me to start even in mid-chew.
Oh yes. I saw these the other day at the store. They're I don't know if you've seen the sweet tarts ropes.
Are they like Nerds ropes but with sweet tarts?
Well, no, okay, they're like a gummy rope with like the best way I can describe it is almost like a paste inside that's the sweet tarts flavor.
Oh, I've had those. Oh, those are good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, these ones are tropical punch flavored. Ooh. But they're golden ropes. They're supposed to be a tie-in for the new Wonder Woman movie.
Nice.
So they're golden colored like the lasso of truth.
Yeah, that's dope. All right, that's cool.
They're one of my favorite candies. I love sweet tarts anyway. Sweet tarts used to always be like one of my jams.
Yeah, for sure.
Tangy, sweet, come in the roll, awesome candy.
Yeah.
They have them in so many different ways now too. They have like little tiny miniature versions of them, and then they used to always have those the gigantic big ones, the giant sweet tarts. Remember those?
Oh yeah.
Love them. Anyway.
Yes.
How are you doing today, sir?
I'm hanging in there.
It's a fun day. California's still on fire.
Yes, it is.
It's become
We're hunkering down
like
and staying inside.
It's the new season.
Yeah.
It's the new season between summer and fall.
Yeah, fire season.
Is truly, season of flame.
Yeah.
In California. Orange sky in California.
Yeah. Oh man. That is oh man.
Well,
and it's not just California. Here's the kicker on this one.
Oh no, it's the entire West Coast.
The entire up into Canada. Vancouver is on fire. Like, it is not okay everywhere. Well, we're even getting outside the border. It's like almost in Alaska now. It's stupid.
It's like, yeah, I'm okay. If it's gone all the way to Canada, then we have issues.
Oh yeah. It is north to south. Like, the only way you can escape is like hopping the border to Mexico, and then even that's iffy because who knows whether or not it's going to spread to Baja. It's nuts.
So anyway, it's crazy out on the West Coast here. And that actually affected probably what was, for me at least, the biggest event of this last week. And that would be the start of the NFL season.
Oh, now,
yeah. For anybody that's listened before, we've discussed football a couple different times. We would have, and in a normal year, when normal things would be happening, we would have brought in our announcer friend Scott, because myself and announcer friend Scott are pretty football knowledgeable people.
Yeah.
It's a big deal to us. Mike has no idea what's going on.
Nope. Super lost.
So when we have our football conversations, we try to bring in announcer friend Scott, because at least then I'm not just talking to somebody who has no understanding or care in the world. However, the things that have happened this year in the NFL and the way the NFL has happened, had to deal with things, you can appreciate and understand the insanity of it without being a true fan of the NFL, without having all of this knowledge.
Okay.
Because normally you have so many weeks and months of training camp where the players come in and they train with their team, they learn about their positions, they get back in physical shape after having been off for a few months and home with their family. I mean, the guys who play like offensive line and defensive line and weigh like 280 to 350 pounds.
Right.
They do that on purpose so that they can be hard to move, but they have a bunch of muscle mass under all of the weight that they're carrying. They're not just a big ball of fat like me. They actually have muscle underneath that, and they have to strike a balance between eating like 5,000 to 7,000 calories a day to keep the weight on themselves, while also being able to strengthen condition so that they can carry that weight around and run at speeds that are at least close to the speeds of your running backs and your wide receivers and your really fast people.
Yeah, you got to be able to keep up.
You need to have a 320-pound offensive linemen that can run fast enough to be able to run down the field blocking for a running back that's running behind him. Now, he doesn't have to run it at running back speed, but he's got to run at least a decent clip. And I can tell you right now, 320 pounds, it ain't easy to run. Your legs do not like that. They are not happy with trying to run at that speed, unless you're one of these athletes that have conditioned themselves this way. In fact, most offensive, defensive linemen, when they retire from football, they end up losing like 60 to 80 pounds because they don't have to eat all of the calories they've been eating to keep the bulk weight on so that they're harder to move around. And they end up being actually in really, really great shape. We're talking like Ethan Suplee type transformations when they retire.
Holy smokes.
Because they still know how to do all of the exercising. You know, they've been exercising and been in weight rooms for years, but they don't eat all the food. They cut back on their diet so they don't have to bulk themselves up with all the extra weight, and they end up being in really, really good physical shape with, you know, none of the weight that they had to carry around. So they in the off season, they may actually lose a little weight or gain a little too much weight. They'll get out of shape. Your receivers, your running backs, your quarterbacks, the people that are usually athletic and trim and all of that, they gain weight in the off season because they're not training the whole time. They're hanging out with their families. They're spending they're spending their $500 million contracts.
Right.
Yes, that is a recent contract that was done for a player, the biggest contract in history, 10-year, $500 million contract.
Good Lord, dude. That is insanity just as a concept.
So anyway.
Good for him. Good for him.
Normally you have this time to have all of this training camp and these the OTAs, which are part of the training stuff, getting the people back in shape. And then you get between it's changed over the years, but it used to be 5. Now it's only recently it was only 4 preseason games. Okay. And these are games that are before the season starts. They're games that don't matter. You're just kind of matched up with various other teams.
Right.
And it gives you the capability to not only get your starting lineup some on-field practice, some actually game time practice, but you get the chance to work out new draft picks, new players that you signed, because at that point you got like a 90 some odd man roster. By the time the season starts, it has to be brought down to a 53 man roster. Only 53 guys that can be on the team and suited up each Sunday. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
So you have all these other bodies in that are trying to get their chance to be on an NFL team. And there have been some that have been undrafted free agents, people that didn't get picked up in the draft from college into the professional sport, that have shown how good they are by signing with a team and performing well in preseason. They get a backup or starting job on the team and make the 53-man roster for the year and end up becoming standout superstars and making tons of money. It has happened. It does happen. You have guys like, there's a Hall of Fame Super Bowl winning quarterback that was an undrafted free agent, got cut, went to go play arena football for a while, got cut from that, was working at a grocery store when he was asked to come play backup quarterback. He's the second string quarterback. The first string quarterback goes down. This guy steps in, leads the team to a Super Bowl. Guy's name is Kurt Warner. They're actually making a movie about his life fairly soon.
I was going to say, I've heard that name before. How long ago was this?
That would have been in the late 90s.
Okay, yeah, I thought I had heard that name before. Who did he play for?
Late 90s, early 2000s. The Rams. Their offense was called the greatest show on turf at the time. It was an amazing high flying offense. It helped that he had 2 wide receivers that were eventual Hall of Fame receivers and a running back that was probably one of the best running backs of all time. Yep. Only 3 running backs, I believe, have ever had 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving in the same season. The most recent one was a guy named Christian McCaffrey. He's a current player for the Carolina Panthers. The first one to ever do it was Roger Craig for the 49ers. In fact, it's a funny story about Roger Craig doing it. The coach at the time, Bill Walsh, told him before the season started, I need to make sure I get 1,000 yards out of you, Roger. And Roger said, well, he didn't tell me whether it was rushing or receiving, so I got 1,000 for both. And then the guy who played with Kurt Warner that did it was a running back named Marshall Faulk. So it's a very, very big thing to have done. Some running backs have done 2,000 yards in just rushing, but to have 1,000 yards, over 1,000 yards rushing, over 1,000 yards receiving, those are the only 3 guys that I believe have ever done it.
Wow.
So, small club.
Crazy, yeah.
But anyway, these things do happen. That's why training camp is important. That's why the preseason is important. It gives the teams the ability to knock some of the rust off. They get a little bit of chance to go through some plays, be in real game situations, and you get the opportunity to check out these players that maybe weren't on people's radar initially, but they may have some capability that just hasn't had the chance to show itself yet. And they get the opportunity in game time in NFL games to show that maybe what they do translates better to the NFL than it would have in college or it did in college. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are a lot of players that come from the college ranks that people think, oh, they're going to be great in the pros, and they just fail completely. For every Peyton Manning who is drafted, as a quarterback, because I know at least you know that name, Peyton Manning.
Yes.
If not for his football, then for all the commercials he does.
Right, yeah.
For every Peyton Manning that's taken in the first round of the draft and actually is successful with his team, making his team a winning team the entire time he's with them and taking them to a couple of Super Bowls, there is a Ty Detmer. I mean, pulling a name out of nowhere. A quarterback who was also, I believe, a first-round draft pick that never went anywhere. I mean, you could go over lists of these different people that, and then you have a fifth-round draft pick who has over a handful of Super Bowl rings that nobody ever expected to do anything, and Tom Brady. So you never know where the capability will show itself up. There are a lot of people that look like they're great athletes and great stars in college, but their understanding of the game doesn't translate to the pros. And there are some that didn't really have success in college, but when they get to the pros, suddenly that's when they blossom and they're able to play their game the right way. And so it's one of those things that, like everything else in the world, there's so much chaos involved in it. You never know for sure which one's the sure safe bet. Well, this year, because of all of the health issues, because of all the underlying things going on, the NFL wasn't even sure whether they would be able to have games. In fact, I remember a week or two ago we had reported in our podcast that we had found out that I had found out that college wasn't going to have their football season. Right. Well, that changed. They actually did have their football season.
College did?
Football has started for college.
Oh, okay.
And the NFL was trying to figure out whatever ways they could to still make football happen.
Right.
Probably some of the most rigorous testing for COVID-19 happens at every NFL facility.
I would imagine so. Or any other sporting event, pretty much. But yeah, completely understood.
Well, the thing is, NFL is bigger money than just about any other sporting event. Keep in mind, their big game at the end of the year is basically an American holiday now.
Yeah, that's true.
You're considered strange if you don't watch the Super Bowl.
Right. That is weird. And like even me as a very passing casual, I wouldn't even call myself a fan of football, but yeah, I'll catch the Super Bowl game if I got the opportunity. It's like something you just kind of partake in. It's not really... Yeah, it's really weird. I don't know. I almost can't explain it. I don't have much of an interest in football, but man, I'll watch the best of the best go at it, and see who comes out on top. Like that's the take I have.
But you're not watching the World Series, right? You're not watching the NBA Final Four. You're not watching the March Madness for college.
Does the World Series? I got a question. Cup. Does the World Series happen on a Sunday?
No.
That might be part of it.
It could. I mean, it could.
Yeah, I remember the last time I watched the World Series was, Lord, the Giants in 2011, 2010?
I mean, I want to ask this question, but I don't want to be indelicate about asking this question.
Go for it. I don't care.
How much do you remember about the World Series?
Aside from the fact that I was at a bar and I was drunk watching a game, not much.
Because the World Series is not a single game; it's a best of 7.
Yes, I do know that, and I watched I watched Game 7. I did watch the other games. Like I was at the time I was living across the street from a bar, so it was really convenient to just head on across the street, grab a beer, and watch it on a really, really big projector TV setup. So it was the best way to watch it. So that's when I did. I honestly had not sat and watched any World Series games, and that year I watched 2. I think I watched Game 3 and I watched Game 7. But that was it. As far as that, that's actually one major thing that, now that I think about it, probably is half the reason why. The Super Bowl is a single game. It is not a series of games. It is one event that's all or nothing in one game. The World Series is the series of up to 7 games, depending on how many it takes to win 4.
I will say this,
right?
The last time that I actually really watched a World Series, the very last time I watched it was in 1989.
Good Lord.
And I distinctly remember, because I remember watching I believe it was Game 2 of the World Series, and suddenly the world started shaking and the TV cut off.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, you're right. That was the earthquake.
And I was living in the East Bay at that time, so I was there for the Loma Prieta quake, and I always made the joke about it afterwards that the power contained in the 2 teams in the World Series that year was too much for the San Francisco Bay Area to handle, because it was the Giants, the San Francisco Giants versus the Oakland Athletics, and I knew a lot of Giants fans. It pains me to say that there was even some in my family, and some that were my friends. I mean, some at that point in my life, I didn't necessarily make as good decisions as I do now. I know better. But I jokingly say that now because I don't follow baseball anymore. I just do it to rile up the San Francisco Giant fans.
Oh, whatever.
People don't understand. How can you be
super passive, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, people get me with how can you be a San Francisco 49er fan and not be a San Francisco Giant fan? Because I lived in the East Bay. Well, why weren't you a Raider fan then? Because I have intelligence.
Oh, see, I know Giants and Raiders fan, and I know Giants / Raiders fans, and I know Giants / Niners fans. The Niners / Athletics fans really confuse me, though.
I confuse you then.
But you confuse me then.
That's okay. You'd have had to live in the area that I lived to understand it.
Okay,
it was really weird how it worked.
That's fair. That's fair. But, I mean, it could be this could be like a this could be like an Oregon thing, which you're either into. What are they? It's just the college thing out in Oregon. It's the Ducks and
Well, that's because there's nothing better to do in Oregon than to like your college teams.
Right. What was the other one? Why can't I think of the other?
Is it the Beavers?
No, I don't think it's is it the Beavers?
I don't know.
It's OSU Oregon, and I can't remember.
It's kind of like Ohio, in the sense that like the only decent teams are college teams in Ohio.
Yeah.
The difference is Ohio actually has professional sports, just none of them are good. Ever.
If you're listening to us on YouTube right now, please correct us in the comments. What the hell is the other Oregon college football team? It's driving me nuts now. And yeah, I know I can look it up later, but it's more fun.
Still, you want to know.
Yeah, I want to know. We'll bring it up in the next one.
Yeah. Like people are going to listen for the next one.
I don't know.
I need to listen again.
I don't know, man.
Because I need to know the Oregon college football teams.
I could easily just Google it, but that doesn't matter. I must have the answer told to me by a couple of podcasters, I guess. I don't know.
James is right. That would be the Oregon State Beavers.
Oh, it is the Beavers. Ah, well, okay.
Thank you very much. Anyway.
All right, well, now don't comment. Don't comment because now the answer's been found.
Comment anyway. So yeah, the 89 World Series was the last one I watched, getting back to topic. And it was a great World Series for me because it finally proved which team was the better team in the Bay. The Athletics were, because they won in 4 games. Even with one game being being canceled and rescheduled because of an earthquake, they still won in 4 games. They beat the Giants down like it should be. Anyway, football starting, right?
That's what we're talking about, right?
Starting. So, you get preseason normally. You get all these other things. Well, this year, of course, no preseason. They decide preseason is not going to be safe to do. We're not going to try to get the players from the different teams together until the regular season. Even though we've been doing the most stringent testing humanly possible, and it's super stringent testing. We're going to keep the teams separate until we actually have to play the games. And then we're going to make it even bigger deal when it comes time to playing the games.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are not going to let, in areas where they still have hotspots for COVID, we are not going to let any people in the stadium. No fans. That's right,
okay,
sir. This week of 16 games, because 32 teams, 16 games, only 2 games had any fans in the stands at all. And they only had...
So they're doing the same thing as baseball.
25% capacity. Yep. Same thing as baseball,
okay,
except without the cardboard cutouts.
Oh, man, you mean it doesn't look like an old EA Sports game from 1998 anymore?
No, but it gets better. They're also piping in crowd noise.
Yeah, that's where weren't they doing that for MLB too?
I don't know if they're doing it for MLB. It's 70 to 75 decibels of crowd noise piped in at all times. But apparently, if you're listening on the TV, somebody is actually working the crowd noise so that when big plays happen, you do hear a slight elevation in the crowd noise. So I'm guessing 70 is like the baseline, and then it goes up to 75 and then back down to 70. And it's not always at the right plays. And it's the same noise no matter what. So normally when you get a big hit and you get the ooh from all the people with the big hit, instead it's just a bunch of cheering.
Dude, I love this concept. Okay, there needs to be like a sketch about the bored guy at the baseball game in the empty stadium that rides the fader up when a big play happens. He doesn't know, and he's like not paying attention, or he accidentally inserts canned laughter or something like that. That would be freaking amazing. This is the kind of stuff that needs to happen during this time.
Oh, I'm assuming that this is going to happen at some point.
I hope it does.
Dude, people are going to have to make fun of it.
If somebody inserts like canned cheers laughter in the middle of a baseball game because a home run is hit, like a triple, that would be so freaking funny. I would love to see something like that.
Yeah, it's going to happen. And of course, if it does, they stole it from us. It was our idea first.
Yeah, you heard it here first.
Yes.
We want our royalties, damn it.
All like 30 of you heard it here first. But anyway, two stadiums did get to have actual fans. One of those being in Jacksonville, Florida, even though I don't understand why, because Florida is still the hot spot for everything crazy, but I guess because they don't care. So there were fans in Jacksonville. Happy fans apparently, because Jacksonville actually did fairly good this weekend and nobody expected them to. But the opening game of the year was on Thursday night. Thursday night is typically the opening game of the year, and it usually has the Super Bowl champions playing against hopefully what they feel is a good matchup team for them to play against. And the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs played against the Houston Texans.
Okay.
So as the NFL was basically held ransom by a coalition of players, including Patrick Mahomes, the Super Bowl MVP of the Kansas City Chiefs.
He was the dude that finally got like the main.
Well, here's the thing.
I remember the video. We talked about this on the cast. It was crazy.
We talked about the video and the fact that you have literally the face of the NFL at this point, who is a polarizing figure to begin with, but who also represents the various things that they're trying to work for in these social justice programs. Him being the face of this video and this demand from the NFL, and being the face of the NFL too, with the MVP trophy, with just having won a Super Bowl, all of the things involved with that. this is a guy that they're going to pay attention to, and this is the quarterback who's starting the year off, right?
Right.
Well, the NFL had decided to implement a whole bunch of what they felt were measures in place to try to address the Black Lives Matter movement, to try to address these social justice issues that have been plaguing this country. I wouldn't say plaguing, that's the wrong word, that have been brought to light in this country even more so in the last 6 months. That's a better way to put it.
Right, for sure.
And they've come up with what they feel are some solutions to this problem. Oh, and even then, solution's not the right thing. They've come up with things that they are trying to do to help with this problem.
Right.
One thing that they have done is they've allowed the teams to at the back of their goal line, right? So you have the field, you have the goal, the touchdown area, the goal area where the team's logo is at. At the back goal line, they are allowed to spray in with paint, the groundskeepers, not just spray paint it, but like the groundskeepers, write in various messages. There's like 15 or 20 approved messages that are part of the Black Lives Matter movement. They're part of the social, speak properly, James, social justice movements that are happening. They're allowed to have whatever messages the teams want to have in there. They're also allowed to have on the back of their helmets and on their jerseys patches and or stickers with various approved phrases that are again part of these various movements.
Okay.
So these are some of the things that the NFL decided to do. Another thing that they've decided to do to try to again bring awareness, to try to, in my opinion, placate the players, and I'm saying that because these players were the ones that demanded it, and I think these are minimal concessions that I believe the NFL is giving in an attempt to try to make it seem like they are doing something. They're band-aids on what I feel is a gaping wound. It's like, oh, for sure, it's just a flesh wound. We'll just throw a little band-aid on it. You're still bleeding out, but it's okay. We put a band-aid there. You should be fine. This is one of the other things that they've done is before the national anthem, which they are still doing the national anthem and televising it, even though nobody in the stands, mind you, nobody in the stands.
Yeah.
Nobody in the stands, still doing the national anthem. And by the way, nobody's even there seeing the national anthem. It is a virtual national anthem on top of everything else. Virtual national anthem. But before the national anthem...
Wait, you're talking like people like zooming in their performances? Or is it just pre-recorded?
Pre-recorded and then shown on the TV screen and played at the stadium.
What? Okay, I have to know this because I know it was a contractual thing. It was a contractual thing with, I don't know if it was the administration at the time or it's with the U.S. government in some degree. Okay, I got to know how strong it's with the military. I got to know how strong this contract is. In the middle of this situation, is it any time you play any game at any point? You must do this, and if it's not done, what happens?
I don't know what the specifics of the agreement and whatnot are, but this is where the owners are refusing to budge. Is that the anthem's going to be played no matter what, even though nobody's there to sing it. Nobody's actually there to sing it. It's performed by somebody off-site and then piped in. But before the national anthem is performed, they are also performing, or having played through, I can't believe I'm saying these words. They are performing the Black national anthem.
What?
The Black national anthem. A song called "Lift Every Voice and Sing."
I have never heard this.
Well, that's probably
I'm going to have to look it up.
That's probably because we are both white and privileged and haven't had a need to hear of it.
Fully understood. Yeah. I'm looking this up when we're done with this podcast. I have to hear what this is.
This is one of the...
So wait, they're playing both of them?
Well, this is one of the, quote, concessions that the NFL has given is to play both these anthems. And keep in mind here, they're playing the Black national anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, first.
And then
they'll play the regular
Star-Spangled Banner.
Anthem. Yes, then the Star-Spangled Banner.
Oh.
Now, the teams knew about this ahead of time, and many teams had many responses as to how they were going to handle this situation. Some of them kept the responses internal. Some of them actually posted videos of what they were going to do.
Uh-huh.
And I have a theory as to why, for instance, the songs are in the order that they're in. And I had a theory when I heard that this was going to happen last week.
There's something.
My theory actually played out. My theory played out in some of the description. But I'll tell you what, we're at a moment where we can take a break on this, because I think the rest of the story is going to take a little while to do. So let's take a break for a moment.
Okay.
When you guys come back, I'm going to tell you what happened with these two now national anthems, and why this is being done this way, and why it's the worst way possible to handle any of these problems.
Oh boy.
It's the slap in the face instead of any kind of real help. Anyway, we'll be back in just a moment.
Hey friends, this is Mike from the Xennial Chronicles reminding you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Xenchron, spelled Xenchron, to keep up to date on all things TXC. And please check out our official website, theXennialChronicles.com, or if that's too much to type, Xenchron.com. Thanks again for listening, and now, back to the show.
And we're back, everybody.
All right. So
we're dealing with this national anthem issue. First, the idea that I just want to go on my own thing. The fact that we have or need to have recognized a national anthem and a black national anthem, and it be titled a black national anthem, this should show more than anything else how deep this divide is in our country.
That's insane.
That we would have that we would label a song the black national anthem to differentiate one entire group of people just based on the level of melatonin in their skin. One entire group of people is having a separate national anthem than the normal national anthem.
Yeah,
that's basically saying they're not as American as anybody that's not black. That's just
that is insane to me.
Fact.
That's it. Okay, so I have a question. I want to add that we recognize as much as we can that we are speaking from the level of white privilege that we both have, and so we understand. Our understanding is limited by that. But just the fact that it can be acknowledged that there's a separate song, that brings back the idea of separate but equal to me, and that's still racist. Bullshit. That's absolute bullshit. That's super racist. Okay, so the question that I have here, so as far as the separate but equal, it depends on where it is, because understanding individuality, understanding heritage, understanding culture is not what separate but equal means in this, especially in this context. This is
and so yes, I may want to walk back what I'm saying in this in the sense that that again, this is coming from my own viewpoint of it. This is my lack of knowledge of the song. This may be a song that the black community has decided is their national anthem, and as a result, I will respect the fact that they feel the necessity in this world that they have to have their own national anthem because they don't feel like they belong with the other one because of how they're treated. They need to have their own way to be patriotic and feel like they belong, because obviously the other way is not making them feel like they belong. And
now here's my take on that. Is that if we are so broken to not consider the possibility that the national anthem, which is supposed to represent every single person in this country, and it doesn't do that, that means that we have a serious issue. If the way to solve the problem is to include a separate national the concept of two national anthems already shows how broken the system that represents this country is. That is, bar none, the problem. That's the reason why this is an issue. Now, as far as I will agree with you in that if that's the case, it's both. I can't even call it bittersweet. It just sounds sad as fuck, because if you have to have something like this, because the song that's supposed to represent everyone in this country obviously does not, especially according to those people that have been essentially victimized by this system as it exists, and that anthem may or may not represent that. I know that we're getting into real touchy subjects, and there's probably, if there's anybody who's yelling at us right now, I get it, but you know what? Like, it sounds like this needs to be said at this point. If it is this messed up, we need to take a serious look at how people are represented in this country. If you need to incorporate a separate national anthem for those that have been so disenfranchised by this broke-ass system that's in place, and we can't even agree on a song as a country as to who represents us, and not just like being told by our government that this song is what represents us, one that's like 200 years old, that obviously, and the reason, there's a multitude of reasons. I could keep going. It's just the rabbit hole just keeps going deeper. My main issue here is the fact that we shouldn't have to we shouldn't have to negotiate a separate national anthem for our sporting events just to it's not even appeasement, it's not comfort, it's hopefully the purpose for this is to point out that that we are not being as representative of every person in this country as we should be. Well, you know, like you broke me, man. I don't even have a clear thought of how to address this issue.
And the thing is, you're right. This is an indication of how broken things really are. And that's my real point in any of the other things that we're saying. And again, what's coming from us is from our point of view as people that are just, I'm hopefully I'm speaking for you okay on this. We're appalled that this has to be a necessary thing, and not that it has to be a necessary thing to appease people of color, but that people of color have had to have a necessary song because they feel like they don't belong. That means that that we as a country have failed to make everybody who is an American feel like they're truly an American, and that's the sad point. That's the issue that we have with it, and that's what this does indicate.
It's so hard for me to try to like I'm trying to attempt as best I can to tread lightly on this, because I am not trying to be non-representative of anybody that like I know that I can't speak for everyone because I am not everyone. But as far as this is like, I speak from a position mentally where I am fully conscious of my privilege in this country. And it infuriates me still to this day that we have not solved this problem, but adding another song, dude, that's a Band-Aid on a bullet wound right now.
Yeah.
Like that is a hemorrhaging wound, and you think that something like that, or here's the biggest one. If that idea wasn't something that was put in by the commission and it was introduced to them by someone who requested it, because, well, if you're not going to fix our entire social situation, or at least make an attempt to do so, this small thing is the only thing that we can ask for.
Well,
I don't know.
Let me get there.
I don't know. Like, I don't know how to process it. It's the point of view. I can't process the point of view exactly, and it's really hard for me to articulate my frustration with this.
Well, there's more. I
would just say this: like, why the fuck can't you just try to fix the whole fucking system rather than throwing a song at somebody? That's the part that I don't like. Because it doesn't help.
Well, because the people who control the purse strings, the money, don't want to change the system because the system works for them. But that's a whole different thing. And there's more. You need to let me get to more. Sir.
I know. I'm sorry. You hit something, man. You hit something, and it's not you that hit something. Well, it's this whole stupid thing that hit something with me.
There's more that's going to be hitting on you, so you need to be ready to get all of it. Okay.
Bear down. All right. Bearing down.
Right. So. Before the break, we had I had said that I believe there was a specific reason for why they are playing the Black National Anthem first, and then the traditional national anthem second. And my belief on that is, and I think it was shown out by what some of the teams decided to do, how some of the teams decided to handle the situation, was if the players came out, as the players have come out in support of the Black Lives Matter movement, they've come out in support of all the various social justice movements that have been going on. Again, they did the video demanding that the NFL do something about it. They've been told, the NFL's been told about this for years, back when Colin Kaepernick started his kneeling. Yet they've never really done anything proactive. They demanded it. Roger Goodell, the commissioner, said he was going to do some things, did some interviews about it. So they set this up for Black National Anthem first, traditional national anthem second. Why? Well, I believe it was because if the players came out in support of the Black National Anthem, as they would, seeing as this is the song that's supposed to be representative, the song that they have chosen to be representative, because I mean, that's if they come out in support of that, but then they have to then stay out in support of the national anthem, because if they don't, they have the capability of televising, showing the difference between the two, and trying to show the disrespect for the national anthem. So many teams decided
that is such a fucking bear trap.
Many teams decided to avoid the possible trap and stay in their tunnels until both songs played. So as not to, and even in press releases, some of the teams said, so as not to show favoritism to one song over the other, and therefore be judged by that. Thus, basically confirming what my belief was, is that it was set up in such a way. Now, you see, if you did the traditional national anthem, which has been where protests have taken place, where Colin Kaepernick's protests took place, if you did that first and the other one second, the Black National Anthem second, I don't want to just call it the other one to try to marginalize it in any way. Then you could have people who are trying to protest more fully not go out for the traditional national anthem and only come out for the Black National Anthem, thus being a more full protest. This stopped their capability of that, at least to do it easily. They could probably go out and come back, go out to do the Black National Anthem, come back in for the regular one, but that's going to look worse. That's going to be a harder leap to make people do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This stops that level of that extra level of protest. So, like I said, some teams decided they were going to stay in their tunnels and not come out and didn't say anything about it. Well, 2 hours before the first game on Thursday, one of the NFL teams, the Miami Dolphins, decided to drop a video made by the team that stated they were going to stay in their tunnel and stated why. That having both songs really wasn't doing anything to change.
Right.
They weren't going to come out because they didn't want to show favoritism to one of the two songs.
Exactly.
Whole big video package for it.
Yep.
That dropped like a bombshell of things, and there was a lot of criticism happening over it. In the first game of the season, the Kansas City Chiefs came out for both of the anthems. This is the first game, starting game. There's, again, Kansas City, by the way, was the second stadium, other than Jacksonville. I mentioned Jacksonville before had fans in the stands. Very limited number.
Okay.
Only 25% of the stands were able to be full.
Okay.
And they had to sit so far away from the field and be social distance. Kansas City was the only other place to be able to have fans this week. And it had like 17,000 fans in a place that normally has like 94,000 fans. Arrowhead Stadium is one of the loudest stadiums in the NFL. Huge, rollicking fan base. About 17,000 people in there. Still a whole lot of people. So the Chiefs were out for the national anthem. The Houston Texans decided to stay in the tunnel. Chiefs were out for both the Black National Anthem and the traditional national anthem. Well, the quarterback of the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, the MVP, the Super Bowl, Super Bowl winner.
Yep.
Had talked to the quarterback of the Texans, Deshaun Watson, weeks leading up to the game. They knew each other in college. They've had a long relationship. I think they were drafted the same year as well.
So they're good, close. They're good, close friends.
They're friends.
Yeah. They've been for years.
they had decided between their two teams, this is the first game of the year, and since Mahomes and Deshaun Watson were both a part of the original video sent to Goodell to try to get all of this happening, they decided they wanted to make a show of unity after the national anthems were done. Each team got to do their own thing for the national anthem. They weren't going to stop each other from doing whatever they wanted to.
Right.
But they were going to do a show of unity after the national anthem. National anthem's done. Before they start getting ready to play, they wanted a show of unity. What they wanted to do is have both teams come to the middle of the field and lock arms in unity with each other as a show of unity, with Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes at the center and their teams, fanned out in a line away from them, arms locked, and have a moment of silence for all of the people that have been killed or injured, maimed, whatever, by the police in the last calendar year, all that have started all of the current movement of social justice and our attempts to rationalize the racism that is running rampant in this country. They wanted a moment of silence to do that. They locked arms. They stood for a moment of silence. 17,000 fans, okay? 17,000. Just a minuscule amount as compared to what is normally allowed in that stadium. Like I said, 94,000 normally in that stadium.
Yeah.
17,000. Audible booing.
During the moment of silence?
During the moment of silence, audible booing. To the point where it was enough of the fans booing, that's all you really heard was booing. During a moment of silence. When normally everybody's supposed to be quiet, only 17,000 of them. Little tiny bit. You get a whole stadium completely quiet when they want moments of silence for other things. But for this, booing. This was their quarterback and their team that just won a Super Bowl that wanted to do this, and the fans are booing him. Because, Mike, the racism runs that deep.
That's disgusting. That's fucking disgusting, dude. Like, excuse my language all over this cast this time. Like, I apologize for my language on this. I know I've dropped quite a few, but it really is this disappointing. It's this infuriating. It does not compute with me. I don't understand how people can be this inconsiderate. There are people that have been killed because they are fighting for their own personal rights and the rights of other people that deserve it here in this entire country. In this country, on our streets. This is disgusting behavior from people who want to who think that they are entitled to this level of entertainment without any of this sorry, man. Like, these are people that are looked up to. They're public figures. Part of their job is to show what a moral high ground is. They're supposed to demonstrate morally and socially the way that you should act. Forgiving somebody for beating their wife, or forgiving somebody for driving drunk, or what have you, whatever bullshit you want to give them just because they're a quarterback in this case. I'm not saying that's the case, but people have done very stupid, controversial stuff and then been able to still play. But all of a sudden, you start standing for the moral obligation of our authorities and of our established government and the way that they should be treating such a disastrous social problem. All of a sudden, people have a problem with that. I don't understand why that's such a big deal.
Because it challenges their ability. It challenges the people who have, whether overtly or not, that have these racist thoughts and ideals. It challenges their view of the world and challenges their ability to be that way in the world. And this is the thing. Racism is, of course, not a new thing. It's been around as long as recorded history and longer.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The thing is, you get certain points at history where racism becomes a morally challenged thing. And when that happens, the people who have the racist inclinations, have been taught them or just have them from whatever reason, they fight back against anything that they possibly can that tries to tell them that it is morally wrong to hate, dislike, treat differently somebody literally based on the fact that they are different from them. And when they get that feeling, they try to push back as much as possible. When they get somebody questioning that, because it questions them morally, and they don't want to be questioned morally. They feel that they want to feel like they're justified in doing what they do, even though they know morally it is wrong to hate somebody just because they have a different skin tone than you, just because they were born in a different part of the world than you. And so somebody being an alcoholic, drunk driving, beating their wife, those kinds of things. In fact, hell, beating their wife typically makes athletes or certain celebrities look like they're even better than they are. They look more manly. Part of that toxic masculinity we talked about last week.
While you're on this real quick, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I do want to clarify my point with that. I know that sounded like a very jarring thing. I was making absolutely zero comment about anybody that's currently in the NFL or anybody that has done any of those things in the NFL, especially currently. I'm not calling anybody who is in the middle of this social fight right now, nobody. I am not calling out anybody for that type of behavior, because I think it has nothing to do with the current moral situation. I think it's entirely separate from that.
Well, I mean, I can say this. I know of Hall of Fame players that were continually in trouble with the law, that were continually in trouble with drugs, that had all these various things happen to them. And the team would cover that stuff up left and right, as long as the guy kept his mouth shut and went out on the field and played.
Right.
The second that, and in fact, specifically, there was a specific wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. I won't call it the wide receiver, but I'll call it the Cowboys owner. There's a specific wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys that for the majority of his career, he had nothing but trouble with the law when it came to drugs. He was arrested multiple times, taken care of by the team, made sure he had the job, retired as a Cowboy, got into the Hall of Fame, won a couple Super Bowl rings with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
If anybody knows football enough, they know exactly which guy I'm talking about. But he had nothing but problems with the law the entire time he was playing. Team wiped as much of that under the rug as possible. The owner, Jerry Jones, made sure to clean up as much of that as possible. Jerry Jones was one of the first people calling for Colin Kaepernick to be kicked out of the league when he knelt.
What a dick. What a dick for that. Especially being the fact that his behavior, he was specifically enabling the type of behavior, the type of abuses that Colin Kaepernick was calling out. He was just calling it out for an entire group of people from authorities.
No, and
Mike,
that's exactly the point. That's what you need to understand. That's what you need to understand. What his player was doing, doing the drugs, doing all those other things, that didn't affect the owner's worldview of things. That didn't affect anything, because he can go do his drugs, he can go do this and that. He's on the football field, he's doing this. Colin Kaepernick was questioning the role of white Americans and white Americans in authority, and the way that they treated black Americans.
Right.
And that's where it affected Jerry Jones's worldview. He was a white American in authority, and basically, I've heard arguments before that modern day sports, specifically the NFL, with a 75% African American population in the NFL, 75% of the NFL is African American, but like 5 of the teams are coached by African American head coaches.
How many teams are there again? There's like 32 teams?
32 teams.
And only 5 of them? Really?
75%. So that means that there are 75% more retired black players than white players. And yet, maybe 5, I'm not sure the exact number, but it's maybe 5 black coaches. And I think only 1 Hispanic coach, Ron Rivera in Washington. Poor guy, too. He got diagnosed with cancer recently.
Oh, that's terrible.
He's fighting with cancer. Great coach, was a great football player when he played. But it's a huge disparity in numbers.
Yeah, for sure.
No black owners at all. Not a single African American owner
still
of
isn't?
an NFL team. 75% of the players, black, African American. No.
There's not a single black owner of a team?
No, not a single one.
You gotta be shitting me.
And you know what's funny about that? You know how you get to own a football team? You have to be approved to purchase the team by all the other owners. You can have all the money you want to. If the other owners don't approve you for the purchase, you won't get to be able to buy the team.
Oh my goodness.
That's part of the contracts and the laws involved in it. There are people who have argued before that the NFL is a form of modern day racism. Now modern day slavery. Now there are people who would say, well, no, they're getting paid these huge contracts. That's not how slavery works. Yet the rules, restrictions, things put on them. Basically, the team owns their life for the entire time they're under contract with them. And can almost do what they want to. The NFL Players Association, their union, has fought against many of these rules for a long time.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can get fired for saying something wrong on your Twitter account, man. But
you do these other things, and unless there's outcry from fans, these other things just get wiped under the rug.
That's insane.
You have some teams that once a player starts having some major legal issues, they just will cut the player because they don't deal with that kind of toxicity, that kind of problem in their squad. Okay. I know that I mean, people may think I'm just talking my team up, but the San Francisco 49ers a couple of years ago had drafted a possibly problematic linebacker, exceptionally skilled, probably would have gone higher in the draft if it weren't for some questions about his kind of off-field things that were going on and some questions about his attitude with stuff. And for the first year
I would say that there needs to be at least some level, but the problem is there needs to be some level of vetting that goes into these players, especially being that they're representing a national level, or in some cases, like, I don't know how famous American football is outside of the United States. I doubt it has any major pull. But it would have some extent. These guys are huge. Like, these guys are global. A lot of them are. And there has to be some particular level of vetting when it comes down to hiring your players, of course, right? I understand that, but that is a whole different level than what we're talking about here, and it's especially it can be very lopsided depending on who you are and how famous you are.
Let me get there. Now, like I said, the Niners drafted this guy. He had a year in the team, and then he started having some legal trouble. Got arrested a few times, and then charges dropped, and they were all centered around this girlfriend that he had and possible assault on the girlfriend, but she charges him with it, then she drops the charges, and then more things happen and she drops the charges, and then at one point the breaking point finally came. He was on they were actually in Florida for getting ready for a game. They'd gone to Florida, staying in the motel for the game, and somehow or another, this girlfriend had showed up at the motel and caused problems at the motel. This is on like a Thursday, Friday, right before the game happened.
What the hell?
And got him arrested again for some kind of charge of assault or some kind of things going on. And the 49ers decided, you know what? We've tried to give you options. We've tried to help you out with this. We're done. And they cut him that day. 2 days before a game where he was in the game plan, he was a starter on the defense, they cut him from the team. He was picked up within a week by another team.
Interesting.
And he ended up having to be suspended for like 6 games of the next season because of all the legal trouble that ended up happening after that. He did get arrested. Charges were pressed against him. He was able to plead out and get, community service time, very little time in jail, something like that.
Yeah, that's the question here that I had initially was, is this like, and I apologize for trying to take a neutral stance on it, but it was originally I'm sitting there going, okay, he's an abusive asshole or his girlfriend is abusive.
Both.
One of them or both of them are toxic.
Yeah, both.
And then when it continues afterwards, when he gets picked up by another team and that team ends up paying for his stuff, then it's quite obvious that there are multiple different teams that all have different levels of what the minimum bar is for conduct. By the way, depending on which team you're in.
By the way, that other team that picked him up was the current Washington football team.
Oh, interesting.
Which I call them I call them the Washington football team. This is a couple of years ago before the coach that's there. I call them the Washington football team because, well, no, they don't have a name anymore. They're just the Washington football team right now.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
After years and years and years of pressure, and now huge pressure as a part of all of this stuff with the national anthems and all of these other things going on, finally,
those guys have been called out for their name for 25 years? And they've been sitting there defending it the entire time. Like, it's quite obvious at that point that their morals stand at a different level than a lot of other people.
Well, the
owners at least.
The owners of the Washington football team were adamant for years that they were never going to change the name, and this year the pressure was finally enough with all the things going on. With the video, with all the changes that the NFL is trying to make to, in my opinion, just placate people and not really solve anything. We're just doing this to make them leave us alone and so we can get back to the way that things are. Not to really change anything, not to help affect a different worldview, but instead to just get them to shut up and it's like giving candy to a kid to shut him up instead of teaching him to follow the rules. Here, just take this and be quiet and leave me alone. That's what I feel most of this is, but this is another example of it. Finally, we'll stop calling them the Redskins. We've known for years that there are people that don't like it. There have been campaigns for years, but now finally we gotta have to. And so they're just the Washington football team.
About damn time, man. I hated that name back in 2000 when it started getting called out when I was aware of it.
But the thing is, that's the team that, of course, picked up this problematic player that had to sit out 6 games. He had to sit out 6 games because of all the legal trouble, which is why the 49ers got rid of him. They were tired of dealing with the legal trouble. Then the funny part is, right after he started playing again, he got himself injured. And then he was going to start again this year. But in the limited training that they did have, he injured himself yet again. So the Niners kind of dodged a bullet on that for other reasons. But the thing, what it comes down to is, there are legal things that some of the teams will just completely overlook. But the second you start questioning what they feel is their worldview, let me tell you.
Yeah,
they're gonna jump on you. And see, here's the thing is, like I said, the Dolphins made their rally, and I believe the Dolphins, by the way, one of the teams that does have an African American head coach. I'm not entirely positive, but I think so. But here's the thing: Dolphins made their video, right?
Right.
And they said, we're going to do this. We're going to stay in our.
We're not going to stand out for either one of them because we feel like they're trying to trap us into something.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how much you know about football players. I don't know if you know the name Baker Mayfield. By the way, just confirmed, yes, Miami Dolphins do have an African-American head coach. I thought so.
Oh.
But I wasn't 100%.
Cool.
So, but I don't know if you know the name Baker Mayfield. You may have seen commercials with him.
He does possibly. I've heard the
commercials.
Name. Yeah, I've heard the name.
Well, he's a quarterback for the Browns.
Okay.
And he had stated earlier in the week that he was planning on taking a knee for the national anthem. It was his plan. That's what he was going to do. He was going to take a knee for the national anthem to be in solidarity, right?
Right.
Until Friday, when all the backlash started coming from what happened on Thursday night with the moment of silence and the booing and the Dolphins video coming out on Thursday right before the game and all of the attacks that ended up kind of happening from that.
Yeah.
Where he decided to reverse course and publicly state, "No, I will be standing for the anthem."
What?
Baker Mayfield is white, by the way.
Yeah, I thought I knew that. Like, I'd heard his name and I'd heard him. So he was going to be in solidarity, and instead he is now flipping because he's catching a bunch of shit.
Basically, yeah, and he saw the shit that everybody else was catching. And this is
come on, dude! Like, you gotta you have to set. This is the unfortunate fight. Like, this is the fight that Kaepernick was about. That he knew he was. This is the shit he knew he was going to catch when it all started in 2018. Okay, 2016.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 2016 when I saw him sitting it out first. This is the time when there are a lot of people that have very strong opinions about what's going on right now. However, it's already an issue being that these players are out there playing the game anyway. In the middle of the first portion of this big social problem we have right now is a deadly ass virus that can spread like wildfire and has killed a pretty major amount of people. I already don't like the idea of large franchises of people that travel from city to city on a national level in groups, playing a game in a stadium with other people in another group, and then flipping back and forth now security with that or not, it's still a risk that doesn't necessarily technically have to be taken.
Well, and
I have another half to this as well.
Okay. Go ahead.
That in itself, I understand that there are some precautions and measures that are taken in order to try to stave off the dangers of what this is. However, the people that are dedicating their time to this by either watching the game on television and letting the advertisers pitch to them or buying a ticket out of the 2 games that happened this week, like, I understand you paid for a game, but in the middle of all of this, to not be aware of everything else that's socially going on at this point, to want a certain level of escapism is also understandable. But these people are asking to take, 2 minutes to stop and just hold their rights in reverence. That really is not a big deal. And for you to sit there and boo 2 people or 2 teams, essentially, over
100 people.
Yeah, to boo a moment of silence that is in commemoration of people that are fighting to make sure that everyone in this country is treated equally, because this is a major social problem. I don't care if you understand it or if you think it's one way or the other. Give them a second. Give them that minute. Give them that 2 minutes to just have that, and then they will play they're still going to play the damn game.
The thing is, Mike, you're hitting it right on the head. They don't care. They don't care. They don't want to give them the right to have that moment. They don't want to give that to them because
it's so funny that they don't care so much that they care in the opposite direction. That's the part. If they didn't care, then they would shut the hell up and let these people do what they need to in order to put out the point, to let the rest of the people in the country that stand in solidarity with them and let them know and recognize that that's the case.
You're right. I'm wrong in what I said. It's not that they don't care. It's that they are actually incensed and angered by people coming out and saying this, because, as I said before, it questions their worldview. It puts into question whether they are morally correct or not, because they feel these things. They feel this division. They want this division. They don't want it to be brought up and questioned. And that's probably why it's as hard for you to fathom it and deal with it as it in some ways is for me. I mean, I understand it because I've seen this way too often, and I know you have too. I'm not saying you haven't.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
I am reveling in my visceral reaction at this point. I am someone who is sick of watching the complacency. Like, that's where I'm coming from.
You look for the better in people, and I always look for the worst in people, just because that's the way we deal with our viewpoints of the world.
Understandable.
And so for me to see people acting in this disgusting fashion, I already expect people to be disgusting like this, because that's what I expect people are going to do. But that's the thing is, while I have that view that I expect people to do these horrible, disgusting things, none of it is based on a racial equivalency. It's based on the fact that people typically just aren't caring about other people. And what you're seeing here is you're seeing when people want to bring awareness to these social justice issues, especially when there is a racial component involved with the social justice issues, especially when it is. people take that as a personal attack on themselves for any possible thoughts that they have of racism. And see, that's the thing is, you see a demonstration like this. You see, by the way, the 93% of, you can be watching the news and see the 93% of Black Lives Matter protests that happened in the last 6 months that were completely nonviolent and had no property damage.
Absolutely.
And nothing destroyed. 93% of them.
Yep.
You can watch all of this, and you can sympathize and empathize with the people that are demanding to be treated as people and have not been treated as people, have been treated as something less than. You can understand that. You can sympathize, not because you've necessarily been treated that way, but because you can understand that other people have not had the advantages that you have had. So it doesn't anger you. It doesn't incense you, because deep down at your core, you're not somebody who is a racist person. The people that are incensed by these things, the people that get mad at seeing these demonstrations and these protests and any of it, the people that try to demonize all of it, they're doing it because at their core of their person, they think that they are better, more evolved, whatever, than the person doing these protests. Their worldviews are, even if they don't outwardly say it, they don't outwardly act upon it. In fact, there are many of them that think that because they don't outwardly say or act upon it, that makes them an even better person. Deep down I may be a racist, but I don't say anything about it. That makes me even better. I can rise above and be better than all of these other people. I'm not like those racists. I may think the exact same thing, but I'm not going to say it because I'm better than them.
Well, I think that comes to that comes to another level of the conversation as well, like understanding what racism is. It's not, those people that think racism is white hoods and burning crosses and that's where it stops. And there are people that think that. It's not. There's many, 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 many varying levels, and you are hitting it on the head. That's true. I think there's some level of racism that I think that most, if not all of us, do carry. I am doing the best that I possibly can to be as conscious of it, to eliminate it in myself. That is what I make a conscious effort to do, that, to try to make sure that I am trying to avoid. I am trying to stop being part of the problem and start being part of the solution. I'm making a conscious effort to do so.
And that's the key. Is you may have experiences in your life. Let's say you're out shopping one night. Okay. You're at a convenience store. You're in a convenience store shopping, and somebody holds up the convenience store, right?
Yeah.
Holds up the convenience store at gunpoint, scares the crap out of you.
Yeah.
Maybe smacks you with the gun at some point.
Okay.
So you're on the ground. You've been hit with the gun.
Yeah.
You don't want to do anything because you don't want to get shot. You don't want to get killed.
Yeah, for sure.
And person leaves with whatever money they're able to get, whatever they escape. You're going to be scared. You're going to be scared after that. There's going to be some trauma involved in it, especially because you and I aren't the type of people that are going to be carrying guns with us and feel that it's appropriate to shoot another human being without real cause to shoot another human being.
Right.
We're not looking for an excuse to shoot somebody and try to rationalize it with, well, such and such was happening. Things were being stolen, so people need to be shot for that. Sorry, I'm bringing that up because of our personal connection with that, but it is still relevant to the situation. Just my usual way of sarcastically griping about idiot people. But anyway, that should have elicited a laugh. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, I expected a little chuckle on that.
I apologize.
Anyway, the person robbing the store, it does not matter what ethnicity that person is. Whatever ethnicity that person is, that ethnicity is going to cause some kind of, and that type of person, if it's a tall person, if it's a short person,
right,
if it's a person of varying skin tone and color, hair tone and color, the way that they dress, somebody that, whatever that is, those are going to leave impressions upon you, and you are going to have, or I wouldn't say going to, but you have a very good likelihood of having prejudice against those specific traits that you may have to overcome, or there's some people who will just accept those prejudices. I believe you, for instance, and myself, would be somebody that would try to overcome those prejudices and realize just because that person was dressed this way, or looked this way, or spoke this way, or was whatever gender they were, whatever, just because that person was that way doesn't mean that everybody else that is the same as that person or similar to that person is that person. is going to be like that person. This was one person working in what one person did.
Yeah, this was an individual, whether or not they fit within a specific ethnic group or anything like that is completely understandable. That doesn't mean that you're not going to be psychologically scarred from the experience.
You will be, and you have the opportunity of prejudices forming as a result, and that takes you overcoming the prejudices and realizing within yourself the thing.
Yes,
here's the problem.
That is also your personal responsibility to overcome that, though.
Exactly. And
that is the thing. That is a personal issue, and it has nothing to do with the race of a person. It doesn't have to do with that. That external factor it's null and void. Aside from oh yes, continue. Sorry.
I have the thing.
Yes, please.
The thing is, the majority of people don't want to do the personal work on themselves to get to that understanding of that point. It is so much easier to just blame the one thing that has been the target for you and use that as a cover blame for everything, because then you don't have to think about it. You don't have to work with it. And more importantly, you don't have to think that within yourself you might have an issue or a flaw that you have to deal with. It's their fault and all of their fault. It's never yours. This is where the common thing comes out.
Yeah.
Find the other person to blame. Not have to do the work on yourself. Not have to do the realization on yourself. Because when you make it their fault, you make them the enemy. You have something that you can rely on yourself and something that you can target, the enemy.
Well, I understand that trauma response is probably natural and psychological, but it's also lazy as shit not to try to tackle it. It really is. And
the funny thing is, it doesn't just happen with trauma. It happens with everything.
No, for sure. For sure. I agree with that. I absolutely agree with you that is what happens. However, the way that you approach curing yourself of that prejudice that may exist that's the deciding factor in what your character is and where your morals sit. That's the important part. If you can't figure that part out, then, and I know that many people don't. There are a lot of people that are very out of touch with trying to get a tackle on their emotional or their mental state. Mental health especially is a huge problem in this country, and I think very much that racism feeds into that, or that mental health issues feed into racism. I think it's cyclical up to a certain degree. It's a Pandora's box that you're looking to open, but you have to open it before you can organize everything inside of it and figure out how to compartmentalize everything so that you can solve the problem. Essentially it's a puzzle that sits in a Pandora's box. You have to open it, and you have to experience the dangers that are inside of it before you can tackle all of these pieces.
The thing is, most of the people don't want to, and that's why you end up seeing a moment of silence for unity. For people, maybe I wasn't clear enough on the moment of silence for unity thing. It wasn't just for the various movements, but it was specifically for the people that have died.
Yes.
The people that have been injured and are still injured. It was a moment of silence for dead people that should not have been dead, that were dead because people that we're supposed to trust, people that are supposed to keep the public peace, were not acting in the proper accord for keeping public peace.
Yeah, absolutely.
These people are dead. This moment of silence was supposed to be in reverence to the people that were dead, and a moment of silence for dead people, and it's booed.
That in itself, that's another account to how broken the social state of this place is right now.
It is.
These are issues that we need to tackle. These are the major problems that we need to solve before we can even think of getting any better at it.
Well, and this is an issue that, again, we try to stay as much out of politics and out of religion as possible, because those are always the two firebrand issues.
Boy, we dove right into this one.
Well, no. See, here's the thing, Mike. There are going to be people who may accuse this, whatever of the 30 listeners, who may accuse this of being a political thing that we're discussing. I'm telling you right now, this is not based on politics. This is not a political issue that we are discussing today.
No.
If we're talking political issue, we're talking about taxes, and we're talking about how much money is being given to fund military
XYZ or whatever.
How much is doing this and that and the other thing. That's when we're talking politics.
No, we're talking. This is a moral problem.
This is morality. This is morality. This is between what is right and what is wrong. And no matter, I'll do the religious tie-in right here. In almost every major religion you're going to look at, they all have a very similar rule. It's all done in slightly different ways. Hell, even the belief that I have tattoos for, which most people would consider a damnable belief system, has that same similar rule. And most of the Western religions, you hear the rule as do unto others as you would have done unto you.
Right.
And in the religion that I was speaking of, and the phrase is, and it harm none, do as thou wilt. And the key is, and it harm none. Include that and it harm none, by the way, includes yourself. So you can do what you need to as long as you don't harm anyone, including yourself, in the process of what you are doing.
That's fantastic.
But you have to be cognizant of not harming others. It's the same basic idea of do unto others as you would have done unto you. Do not do harm to anybody. Treat everybody with the kindness that you expect to come back to you.
Exactly.
That's probably the most moral thing that comes out of any of the religions. And funny enough, so many religions can agree on that basic tenet.
Yep.
More so than anything else. Doesn't matter who your specific God is, who your specific prophets are, who your specific saviors are, who any of that stuff. None of that stuff is relevant in the sense of thinking of that specific rule of be kind to others so they can be kind to you. Because you want them to be kind to you. Not so they can be, but because you want them to be. You're not even guaranteed the kindness back from them. Because you want them to treat you with kindness, you should treat everybody else with kindness. This is the moral idea of being quote-unquote good. It's a word we use on so many things. That pie was good, that hamburger was good, whatever. Good. Whatever it is, whatever the word is, the idea being that we have this moral responsibility to try to do the best that we can for ourselves and for others. This is a moral issue where people are not being treated like people, and when they try to bring attention to it, they are basically being mocked in the attempt to try. They are being thrown little trinkets to leave them alone. Oh, write the messages at the end of the end zones. Put the different stickers on your helmet. We'll play this song for you. These are trinkets being thrown
that sounds
at them so that they can forget. To try to make them forget and leave alone the real issue, which is the fact that people are not being treated like people. And they should be.
And it's such a half-assed answer to such a huge problem. That's what I took more than anything. It's like it's funny because I could just summarize that entire rant that I had at the beginning was it's a half-assed answer to such a huge problem. It's not going to solve shit.
We have to make clear again, as we've done multiple times. We can only speak from the viewpoint that we have. We've both been raised. Well, you've had a little bit more culture and heritage in your raising maybe than I have, because there at least is a smattering of some Hispanic culture in your family.
Don't let my background fool you, man. I'm pretty white.
I'm about as lily white American as it can get. I mean, when it comes to anything cultural in my family, our specialty meals are hamburgers and hot dogs on a barbecue. I mean, that's there's no visible culture outside of suburban white America, except for maybe poor white America. I've been there. Macaroni and cheese is still my jam, and I always love it when there's a Food Network show and like they have to do some kind of challenging cooking thing. They're given ingredients like Chopped or something, where they're given ingredients that they don't want to have to use, but they have to use to make a meal and whatnot, and they get the can of SpaghettiOs. And the chefs are all eating the SpaghettiOs. Oh, these are disgusting. I've never eaten SpaghettiOs before. I don't know where I'm going to incorporate them. And I'm like, bitch, I had SpaghettiOs for lunch today, and they were fucking good. I love SpaghettiOs. I was at the store last week. Last week I was at yesterday. The store.
Yeah.
I bought a whole freaking flat of SpaghettiOs I got the spaghetti rings with the freaking meatballs in them.
Yeah.
Because I hate it when they put the Franks in them because that's just wrong. I got the rings with the damn meatballs in them because that's my jam. And on,
sure.
even on Sunday watching watching my football game that I needed to watch, the 49ers game, wasn't worth the watching because we lost. But still, I watched the game and I had me some SpaghettiOs for lunch while I was watching the football game. So I mean, I can at least speak from I've been poor, so I know what that's like.
Yeah.
But still, we're still speaking from the seat of and the viewpoint of white Americans who we try to understand as much as we can about the privilege that we've had being white Americans, and so our outrage may seem funny and simple to people that have actually had to live through the treatment of like I said, not being treated like another person, being treated as a lesser person. We can only hope that we can be as helpful as we can to any friends, not even any friends, anybody in this country that has in any way, shape, or form been treated as lesser than because of whatever reason that may be. But especially because of reasons that you don't choose for yourself. There are some things in life that you choose for yourself. The football team that you like. I'm sorry, I'm always going to treat Raider fans badly. I'm always going to treat Raider fans badly because that's just what Niner fans do. And I expect for a Raider fan to treat me badly too because, hey, it's just what we do. We do it out of kind of a love-hate thing, but it's just what we do.
Yeah.
The choices that you make are one thing. There are some things that are not choices that you make. You do not choose what race you are born into.
Right.
You do not choose who you're going to be attracted to and fall in love with. You do not choose what gender identity you think that you are. I wouldn't think is the wrong word. That you feel that you are, that you know that you are. You don't choose that. That's what is.
Yeah.
And those are the things that people are constantly being treated as lesser than for.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some people who argue these are all political issues. These are not. These are issues of morality.
Yep.
And the morally right thing is to treat people as people, regardless of the differences, especially the ones that they cannot choose, that are a part of who they are, who they were born to be. Sorry to end on the somber note, but it's important to understand. We tried our best to be as helpful to that as possible.
Yeah.
As helpful to anybody that feels marginalized as possible. We're still going to make mistakes because, hey, we're human and we sometimes don't know any better. And the things we say may be wrong, may be insensitive. And if they are, we would like to know that they're insensitive, that they're wrong, so that we can do better next time, so that we can be a better friend. We can be somebody who's more supportive.
Exactly.
Because we only have our viewpoint to work from. But we are saying we want to be helpful and we want to make ourselves better to be helpful.
Yes.
We are willing to examine where we've made mistakes. We are willing to see how our viewpoint might change. As long as we can do what we feel is the right thing for everybody that we know. And even everybody that we don't know. Be the best people we can be. Would you agree with all that? Did I say it all good?
I would. If I can add one thing. If I can add one thing to it.
You can't add shit.
Oh, come on.
No, redheads don't get to talk here.
To be completely honest. Yeah, because that's not what I've been doing for the last hour and a half. To be completely honest, one of the things that I like to say is that a right is something that is impossible to lose when you share it with somebody else.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. So I've said that to one or two people, and they really dig on that phrase. And honestly, I think it rings true every time I say it.
Who'd you get that one from?
Me.
Or is it you? Is it you?
It was me.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's a Mike King right there.
Yeah, to me.
I did want to say that I do have maybe have one or two slightly prejudiced things, maybe two.
Okay.
I do have a problem with people that are intolerant of other people's cultures.
Yeah.
And I don't like the Dutch. And hopefully people get the movie reference.
Carnies.
If not, yeah, carnies. Exactly. Anyway.
Smell like cabbage, small hands.
It's true. I knew a few. Movie references, please go watch them if you know what they are. And if you don't, figure it out.
Yeah. All right.
They're fun. there's some horrible things in them nowadays, but still they're fun.
Yeah, wouldn't fly now.
Not at all. Not at all. Anyway, Mike, where are people listening to us?
Well,
hopefully it's still listening to us.
Yeah, it's this one's running long. Let's see. You could be listening to us on our website, theXennialChronicles.com or Zencron.com. Speaking of Zencron, you could find us on Facebook and Twitter, I believe, at Zencron, spelled Xenchron. We're available on all the pretty much major podcast websites. You know, you're talking Apple, your Google, your TuneIn, your so on and so forth. But we're also available on YouTube as well, and you guys might be listening to us there. If you're listening to us on YouTube, please feel free to comment. We do read the comments. We respond to them. We do.
Unless you're a bot.
Yeah.
We don't like bots.
Yeah.
And I've been dealing with way too many bots lately, and it's really ticking me off.
Oh, really? Oh, man, you're checking in on the bots, huh?
Yeah, it's really ticking me off.
Don't you think this bot spam stuff ain't going to be happening? Not around here.
Now, hold on. Spam is good.
Well, yeah. Bot spam, no. Real spam, yes.
Spam is good, because you know it's the most patriotic thing that you can eat.
Indeed.
It is the most patriotic thing that you can eat.
Indeed.
If you're a true patriot on American holidays, eat some spam.
Yeah.
Because that thing is 100% American made, helped win World War II, and used the ingenuity of American manufacturing processing to make something that is really edible but not edible. It's really weird to describe. Anyway, spam, most patriotic thing that you can eat.
We did a whole podcast on it. You should go check it out.
You should.
Head on a few back in the playlist. You'll see it.
While you're checking that out,
yeah,
and eating some spam, hopefully, while doing so, because that would just be the height of patriotism, and you're there on YouTube seeing all that, you should also go and check out a little thing called Ruling Note Music, where Mr. Mike here is talking about various music things, music history, some lessons on doing some recording, very interesting stuff. Find out connections between musicians that you didn't know. Who would have thought that Charles Manson was friends with the Beach Boys?
Dude, that was a good one.
And you said you're saying that of your own video. That's kind of
no.
Anyway.
Just the tip itself, like the actual a tidbit of history. I didn't mean the video itself. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, pal.
You are. Actually,
I'll let you do that for me.
Funny enough, I mentioned it to my wife, the whole Charles Manson and the Beach Boys things. She's like, "Nuh-uh." I'm like, "Yeah."
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have to fill you in. And then when you're done watching those, and if you've decided you can't get enough of Mike, which is possible, there are people that have decided that in their lifetime. I know a few people who've liked Mike so much that they've gotten tattoos from logos of his bands.
I don't know who you're talking about.
I know one guy. He's a douche. Anyway, if you're not fed up with listening to Mike, go and check out Chronosode Playgrounds, right? No, Chronosode Games.
Chronosode Games.
Yep. Chronosode Games, where Mike is badly playing video games with his wife telling him what to do and he's not listening, which is I guess
it's such a failure that this episode was the Monday episode which we just did and put up. It was a fail. It's going to be great.
It's one of those things where failure is actually a good thing. Failure is an option.
Yeah, it's super. It's pretty entertaining.
So check those two things out. Like and subscribe to those if you find them interesting. Even if you don't find them interesting, if you are listening to us, like and subscribe anyway, because hey, it helps out the guy that you're listening to pour out his feelings in like this big block of stuff that he has to then explain the feelings of. Make him feel a little bit better with his life by liking his other things and supporting them.
Yes.
I'm trying to help you. It may help with your self-esteem. Like, man, I said all this stuff and I wasn't sure if I'm clear. Oh, I got some new likes on these two things. Awesome. We got more followers. This is great.
Yeah.
You never know. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Hope you were able to enjoy the slightly different change. We'll be back next week. Not sure what we're going to talk about, but it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Y'all enjoy.
Y'all have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in, friends. The journey continues next week.